Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we try to make sense of the confusing world of company filings. And guess what, we've got another one that is going to be a real page turner, especially if you're into corporate governance and how companies elect their leaders. Let's dive in. This is a preliminary proxy statement from Blaize Holdings Incorporated. Think of it as a heads up to shareholders about what is coming up at their annual meeting. They're basically telling us what they want to talk about, what votes they need, and who they want to keep in charge. The company is inviting everyone to their 2025 annual meeting of stockholders. This year it is going to be an all-virtual event, so no need to pack your bags. You can join from your couch. They're really pushing for people to vote whether they attend the meeting or not, and they laid out all the ways you can cast your ballot by phone, online, or by mail. Now, looking at the table of contents, it's pretty standard stuff. You've got your notices, questions and answers about the meeting, proposals to be voted on, reports from committees, information on executives, corporate governance details, executive and director compensation, who owns how much stock, and even some related party transactions. We'll be skipping over some of the more routine parts to get to the meat of the matter, which is often in the proposals and the financials, if we can find them. The meeting is set for the 3rd of December 2025, and it is going to be a virtual party. They V-listed the main reasons for the meeting. First up, they want to elect 7 directors back to the board. These are the folks steering the ship. They also want to make a change to their main organizational document, the Certificate of Incorporation. This change is about how directors can be removed. Currently, it seems pretty strict, requiring a supermajority vote, and for cause. They want to make it easier to remove directors, basically allowing removal, with or without cause, by a majority vote, which is a pretty big governance shift. Lastly, they want to confirm their choice of auditors, UI LLP, for the upcoming year. This proxy statement is essentially the document that explains all these proposals to you, the shareholder, so you can make an informed decision when you vote. It covers the date of the meeting, who can vote, and what exactly is up for a vote. Importantly, it details that this meeting follows a business combination with Burtec Acquisition Corp. Back in January of 2025, so the company you are looking at now is a result of that merger. The board is strongly recommending a for vote on all the proposals. They want their directors re-elected. They want the amendment to allow for easier director removal approved, and they want the auditor choice ratified. This section is super helpful for understanding the nitty-gritty of voting. It clarifies who gets to vote, explaining the difference between being a record holder and holding shares in street name, which means through a bank or broker. They also explain what a quorum is, which is the minimum number of shares needed to be present for the meeting to be valid. For this meeting, a quorum is a majority of the voting power of the outstanding shares. They also cover how to attend the virtual meeting and what to do if you have technical issues. Here is the crucial part on how to cast your vote. If you're a stockholder of record, you can vote online, by phone, or by mail. If your shares are held in street name, you'll get instructions from your bank or broker. A key point they make is that you can change your vote even after submitting a proxy, as long as it is your most recent vote. This table breaks down the voting requirements for each proposal. For the election of directors, it is a plurality of votes cast, meaning the most votes wins. For the amendment to the Certificate of Incorporation, this is where it gets tough. It requires a 2/3 majority of all outstanding shares entitled to vote. That is a high bar. Any abstentions or broken non-votes will count as a no vote on this specific proposal. For the auditor ratification, it's a majority of votes cast and abstentions and broker non-votes won to impact the outcome. This is a critical distinction, especially for Proposal 2, the amendment. Let's talk about the candidates for the board. They're proposing to re-elect all 7 of the current directors. This group includes Dinakar Munagala, the CEO, and other names like Lane M, Bess, Anthony Canestra, Edward Frank, Yoshiaki Fujimori, Wergen Hambrecht, and George de Uriosta. They've provided a little bio for each, highlighting their background and experience. The report notes that the election needs a plurality of votes, meaning the 7 nominees who get the most for votes will be elected. Votes withheld or broken non-votes will not count towards the total votes cast for this proposal. Looking at the nominees, Dinakar Munagala, the CEO, has a background in electrical and computer engineering and experience at Intel Corporation, which is quite relevant. Lane M. Bess, the chairman, has a deep history in cybersecurity and has held top roles at Zscaler Incorporated and Palo Alto Networks. Tony Canestra brings auto industry and venture capital experience. Dr. Edward Frank, the lead independent director, has a strong tech and cybersecurity background, with roles at Analog Devices and Citime, and is a member of the National Academy of Engineering. Yoshiaki Fujimori has an extensive international career, including stints at General Electric and Lixil Group, and advisory roles with major firms. Dr. Wergen Hambrecht is a former CEO and chairman of Basse, a global chemical giant, bringing immense industrial experience. George de Uriost has a wealth of financial experience, having served as CFO and co-o at various companies, and has experience with audit committees. The company seems to be trying to assemble a very experienced board with diverse backgrounds, particularly in technology and finance. This is the big one. They want to change the rules for removing directors. Currently, you need a 2/3 vote and directors can only be removed for cause. They want to change this to allow directors to be removed, with or without cause, by a simple majority vote. The report states that the board approved this amendment because they believe it aligns with good corporate governance. However, changing rules around director removal can be controversial. While it gives shareholders more power, it can also lead to instability if directors are removed too easily without good reason. Remember, this proposal needs that super tough 2/3 vote to pass, and any abstentions or broken non-votes will count as a no vote, making it even harder to get approved. This is a pretty routine part of any shareholder meeting. They're re-asking you to approve their choice of Yuhai LLP as their independent auditor for the fiscal year ending the 31st of December, 2025. Auditors check the company's financial books, and shareholders get to weigh in on who does that job. This proposal requires a majority of the votes cast. The audit committee basically oversees the financial reporting process. They reviewed the financial statements with management and the independent auditor, Markham LLP, for the year ending the 31st of December 2024. They also discussed the auditor's independence, their conclusion. They recommended that the financial statements be included in the company's annual report. Here is a key piece of information. Blaize Holdings Incorporated changed its independent auditor in January of 2025. They dismissed CB's Incorporated, formerly known as Markham LLP, and appointed Yuhai LLP. This section details that there were no major disagreements with the previous auditor during their tenure. It also provides a breakdown of fees paid to the previous auditor. CB's in 2024, they paid CB's $558,616 for audit fees, and in 2023 it was $124,631. These are for audits and services related to the business combination. This table gives us a look at the top brass. Dinakar Munagala is the Chief Executive Officer and a Director, as we saw earlier. Harminder Shemi is the Chief Financial Officer. The report gives a brief rundown of Mr. Shemi's experience, noting his roles at Legacy Blaize and Vodafone Group PLC and his accounting qualifications. This is about how the company is run at a high level. They have corporate governance guidelines, a code of conduct, and charters for their committees. The board considers directors independent if they don't have a significant relationship with the company, which is important for oversight. They don't have a separate nominating committee, so the independent directors vet potential board candidates. They also emphasize that shareholders can communicate with the board by sending emails or letters. Currently, the roles of chair of the board, Lane M. Bess, and chief executive officer, Dinakar Munagala, are separate. The board believes this structure works for them right now. They also highlight that the board and its committees are actively involved in overseeing the company's risks, including financial, cybersecurity, and compensation risks. The board has two main committees, the Audit Committee and the Compensation Committee. George de Uriosta chairs the Audit Committee, Edward Frank chairs the Compensation Committee, and Anthony Canestra is a member of both. The Audit Committee is a busy group overseeing financial reporting, auditor performance, internal controls, and risk management, including cybersecurity. The Compensation Committee focuses on executive pay, incentive plans, and director compensation. Now, let us look at how the top people are getting paid for the year ending the 31st of December 2024. The named executive officers were Dinakar Munagala, the CEO Val Cook, the chief software architect, and Santiago Fernandez Gomez, the vice president of platform engineering. In 2024, Dinakar Munagala received a salary of $595,833 and option awards valued at $3,798,428 for a total of $4,394,285. Val Cook had a salary of $397,570 and option awards valued at $781,714, totaling $1,179,308. Santiago Fernandez, Gomez received a salary of $447,917 and option awards valued at $730,817, totaling $1,178,758. The option award values represent the fair value of the stock options granted, not necessarily what the executives pocketed immediately. This table shows the outstanding stock options for each executive as of the 31st of December 2024. For Dinakar Munagala, there are several option grants with different exercise prices and expiration dates. For instance, one grant from the 24th of October 2024 has over 7.3 million shares with an exercise price of $0.92 and expires in 2034. It seems a significant portion of their compensation is tied up in stock options, aligning their interests with shareholders. For non-employee directors, they have a new compensation program that started after the business combination. They get a base annual retainer of $80,000 with additional retainers for committee chairs and members. For example, the audit committee chair gets an extra $24,000. They also receive equity awards. Initial awards for newly elected directors are valued at about $600,000 in restricted stock units, vesting over 3 years. Annual awards to continuing directors are valued at about $200,000. This ensures directors are compensated for their time and also have skin in the game, so to speak. This table is always interesting. It shows who owns how much of the company S stock. As of the 6th of October 2025, Ava Investors Sabo holds about 16.4% of the shares. Then you have Best Ventures and Advisory LLC with 10.2% and funds affiliated with Denso Corporation with 8.5%. It is good to see significant institutional ownership for the directors and executive officers. Dinakar Munagala, the CEO, owns about 5.8% of the shares, which is a solid commitment. Lane M. Best, the chairman, also holds a substantial chunk, over 10% through his associated entities. The total for all directors and executive officers combined is about 17.4%, which shows management is heavily invested. This section outlines the company S policy on transactions with related parties, meaning people who have significant ties to the company, like directors or major shareholders. Any such transaction over $120,000 needs approval from the audit committee to ensure it is fair to the company and not just benefiting insiders. This part is for shareholders who want to submit their own proposals for future meetings. It lays out the deadlines and requirements for submitting proposals for inclusion in the company, S proxy materials. For inclusion in the 2026 annual meeting materials, proposals need to be submitted by the 22nd of June 2026. This is the standard language about how the company is soliciting proxies, meaning asking for your vote. They mention they will bear the costs of this solicitation and might use employees or other professionals to help them get out the word. Here we have the actual proposed amendment to the third amended and restated certificate of incorporation. This is the legal document detailing the change they want to make. This is the core of Proposal 2. You can see exactly how they plan to change it. The original text states directors can be removed at any time, but only for cause. The amendment proposed is to delete only for cause and replace 2/3, 66, and 2/3% with a majority. So it changes from only for cause with a 2/3 vote to with or without cause with a majority vote. This is a significant shift in corporate governance, giving shareholders more direct power over board composition. Now, let's talk about what this all means. Blaize Holdings is asking shareholders to approve several key changes, most notably making it easier to remove directors. They are seeking a 2/3 majority vote for this, which is a tough hurdle to clear. This move could be seen as an attempt to increase shareholder power and accountability, or it could be viewed as a way to make the board more vulnerable to activist investors or short-term pressures. Their financials, based on the compensation and ownership tables, show a mix of strong institutional ownership and significant insider holdings, which is often a positive sign. However, the push to change director removal rules is the real story here. It signals a potential shift in the power dynamic between management, the board, and the shareholders. Looking at the proposed amendment, the change from a 2/3 vote requirement and for cause removal to a simple majority with or without cause is a substantial reduction in the protection for directors. While proponents might argue this increases accountability from an investor S perspective, we need to consider if this could lead to unwelcome instability, or if it is a necessary step to ensure the board truly represents shareholder interests. The fact that they need a supermajority vote for this also tells us they might anticipate some resistance. In conclusion, Blaize Holdings is at a crossroads regarding its governance structure. The proposed amendment to the Certificate of Incorporation is the central issue. Shareholders need to weigh the potential benefits of increased accountability against the risks of potential board instability. The substantial insider ownership is a positive, suggesting management is committed. However, the ease of director removal proposal warrants careful consideration by all shareholders. Alright, that is our breakdown of Blaize Holdings Incorporated S preliminary proxy statement. What is your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company S future? Do you think making it easier to remove directors is good governance or a risky move? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out our Discord community in the description below for more discussions. Thanks for watching, see you next time.